399 BC, Athens. A courtroom packed with 501 men. In the center, an old man, 70 years old, barefoot as always, wearing the same worn cloak he has worn for decades. He is not on trial for murder, not for theft, not for treason in the way you would expect. He is on trial for two things: corrupting the youth of Athens and believing in gods the city does not recognize. The old man's name is Socrates, and in a few hours this court will sentence him to death for asking questions. Let that sink in for a moment. Not for an army he commanded, not for a crime he committed, not for a war he started, for asking questions in the public square of Athens. How does a city built on democracy, on free thought, on the very idea that gave us the word philosophy, decide that a man asking questions deserves to die? To understand that, we have to understand what Socrates actually did. And once you understand it, you will see why Athens was afraid of him. Not because he was dangerous in the way a soldier is dangerous, because he was dangerous in the way a mirror is dangerous. Socrates was born around 470 BC in Athens, the son of a stonemason. He fought as a soldier in the Peloponnesian War, by most accounts bravely. But his real battlefield was not war, it was conversation. Socrates walked through the marketplace of Athens every single day. And he did something almost nobody else in history had done before him. He stopped powerful men in public and asked them simple questions. What is justice? What is courage? What is virtue? Questions a child might ask. Questions every Athenian assumed they already knew the answer to. And every single time, Socrates would ask one more question, and one more, and one more, until the powerful man, the respected general, the famous poet, the wealthy politician, until that man's confident answer collapsed into contradiction. This method had a name, the Socratic method, but to the men on the receiving end, it had a different name: public humiliation. Here is what made Socrates truly dangerous. He never claimed to have the answers. He said the opposite. He said, "I know nothing." The oracle at Delphi had declared Socrates the wisest man in Athens. And Socrates, confused by this, went out to find someone wiser than himself to prove the oracle wrong. He questioned the politicians. They claimed wisdom, but could not defend it. He questioned the poets. They claimed insight, but could not explain their own work. He questioned the craftsmen. They were skilled in their trade, but assumed that skill made them wise about everything else. And Socrates concluded something that should disturb you as much as it disturbed Athens. True wisdom begins with knowing that you know nothing. Everyone around him pretended to know things they did not understand. And Socrates was the only one honest enough to admit his own ignorance. This made him, by his own logic, the wisest man in the city. Not because he knew more, because he was the only one who knew how little he knew.
Now think about what this does to a society. If Socrates is right, every confident expert and respected authority is potentially standing on an answer they have never truly examined. And if a 70-year-old man can dismantle that confidence with 5 simple questions, what happens to the order of the city? The politicians who relied on the appearance of wisdom to hold power, the wealthy families who relied on tradition to justify their status, the priests who relied on unquestioned belief to maintain authority, all of them, one by one, found their certainties crumbling in front of crowds of young Athenians who watched and learned and began asking the same dangerous questions themselves. Socrates did not write a single word advocating revolution. He simply asked questions, And questions, asked precisely enough, are more dangerous than weapons. So who actually brought Socrates to trial? 3 men: Miletus, a poet; Anytus, a powerful and wealthy tanner with political ambitions; and Lycon, a lesser-known orator. Anytus is the key to understanding this case. His son had spent time with Socrates and, according to accounts, had begun questioning his father's values and his father's profession. Anytus did not file charges because he believed Socrates worshipped false gods. He filed charges because Socrates had given his son the tools to question him. This was not really a religious trial. This was a trial about a generation of Athenian fathers who watched their sons stop accepting inherited answers. And the charge of corrupting the youth meant exactly that, teaching young men to think for themselves in a society that depended on them accepting authority without question. The trial itself reveals everything about who Socrates was. Athenian law allowed defendants to propose their own punishment after conviction. Exile was common. Socrates could simply have left the city and lived out his days elsewhere. He refused. In his defense speech, recorded by his student Plato, Socrates told the jury something extraordinary. He said that if they offered to release him on the condition that he stop philosophizing, stop asking his questions in the marketplace, he would refuse that offer too. He said, "I would rather die having lived examining my life than live having stopped examining it." The unexamined life, he said, is not worth living. 501 men voted, 280 against him, 221 for him. A guilty verdict by a relatively narrow margin for a man who refused to defend himself in any way that would satisfy the court's expectations. Then came the sentencing, and here Socrates did something that sealed his fate. The prosecution proposed death. Socrates was given the chance to propose an alternative punishment for himself. He proposed a small fine, an amount barely worth mentioning, essentially treating the death penalty as a punishment too absurd to negotiate with seriously. The jury, insulted by what they perceived as arrogance, voted overwhelmingly for execution. 361 votes for death, far more than had voted him guilty in the first place. Some jurors who believed he was innocent voted to kill him simply because of his arrogance during sentencing. Socrates had the chance to save his life with humility. He chose honesty instead. What happened next is one of the most studied deaths in human history. Socrates spent his final days in prison, surrounded by his students, discussing the nature of the soul, the meaning of death, and whether the philosopher should fear it at all. His friend Crito offered him an escape plan. Bribes had been arranged. Guards were willing to look away. Socrates refused. He had lived his entire life under the laws of Athens and benefited from them. To flee now, simply because the law had ruled against him personally, would betray the very principles he had spent his life defending. He drank the poison hemlock at sunset, surrounded by weeping students. According to Plato's account, Socrates remained calm, even joking gently with the executioner about the dosage. His last recorded words concerned a small debt he owed, a final act of a man determined to leave the world with his conscience clear, his principles intact until the final breath. Now here is the question that should genuinely unsettle you. Was Socrates killed for asking questions? Or was he killed because a society discovered that its authority depended on people not asking questions? These are not the same thing, and the difference between them is the entire reason this story still matters 2400 years later. Athens did not fear Socrates because he had answers that threatened the state. Athens feared Socrates
because he had a method that threatened every unexamined assumption the state depended on. Power in any society often depends less on truth and more on the agreement not to question certain things too closely. Socrates broke that agreement, publicly, daily, for decades. And this is where the story becomes about you. How many things in your own life have you accepted without ever truly examining them? Beliefs you inherited from your family, values you absorbed from your culture, opinions you hold simply because everyone around you holds them. Socrates would walk up to you in the marketplace of your own mind and ask one simple question about each one. Why do you believe that? And if you cannot answer with something more solid than because everyone believes it or because I was taught it, Socrates would say, you do not yet know what you think you know. This is uncomfortable. It was uncomfortable for the most powerful men in Athens. It is meant to be uncomfortable. Socrates left behind no written philosophy, not one page in his own hand. Everything we know comes through his students, primarily Plato, who turned his teacher's spoken conversations into some of the most influential texts in human history. The man who asked questions in the marketplace became, after his death, more powerful than the court that executed him. Athens silenced one old man. It could not silence the method. The Socratic method is still taught in law schools, in philosophy departments, in classrooms around the world, 2,400 years after the hemlock. He did not die because he was wrong. He died because he refused to stop being right in a city that had decided it could no longer afford the truth. So the question Socrates left behind is the same one he asked the powerful men of Athens. Do you actually know what you think you know? Or have you simply never been asked the question precisely enough to find out?